everybody? It's a Thursday edition of Knockouts and Three Counts, and we've got a pretty big fight this weekend. Although, as we always know on this show, being wrestling and combat sports related, the card is always subject to change, and so was this weekend, because we still got the main event that we're all looking forward to, but the co-main event got scrapped. But before we get all to that, Corey, go ahead, throw your social media out. And how are you feeling about this card now that we're kind of where we're at?
With being that it's going to be us two on the show today, we're going to divulge a lot deeper into the card. But to start off with, yeah, it is. It's a little bit light now that they lost that second title fight. And honestly, a bit of my hype. I mean, it's still there and it's still massive, of course, because you're talking about the world heavyweight title. You know, like that holds serious implications and stuff. But there was something about that featherweight belt. I wanted to see if Volkanovski was the real 145 champ or if Ortega was going to go in there and dethrone him. But with that being said, as always, only thing I'm active on at this point is Twitter. Go throw me a follow. I'll follow back. Fight fan from 313, and let's get to it.
I mean, like Corey said, we got some stuff to go over. I'm not gonna go too much into the prelims because I was looking through it earlier, just trying to go through FanDuel and all that, and it just, man, like, even though it was only one fight, it really hurt that card because I'm looking through the rest of it and I'm just like, damn, like.
It wasn't just one fight. So we actually had the dropout of Hannah Goldie versus Jessica Penne, which was going to be...
That was the other one. I couldn't think of it. I knew there was another one that I was looking forward to, and that was the other one I wanted to see.
That was one I was really curious to see what Jessica Penne was going to be able to do with such a long layoff, and, you know, whether self-imposed or not through USADA. I was really curious to see, you know, her evolution in her game. She could still definitely have used all those years to continue to train and get better. So I was curious, and she was coming up against somebody who I was really excited with their performance off the Contender Series and Hannah Goldie. So I was excited for that fight. They actually already rebooked it. It's, I believe, like April 17th, if I'm not mistaken.
Now, what was the reason they dropped that one? Was it another one because of COVID?
Yeah, Hannah Goldie caught COVID. No symptoms or nothing. That's why I got the immediate rebooking, but tested positive nonetheless. That's one thing I wish we, as fight fans, kind of building up into this pay-per-view, I wish we kind of got a little more word on how Volkanovski's doing. I've seen him post on Twitter and stuff that the unfortunate news and stuff, but that was a couple days after the UFC had even informed everybody during last week's fight night. So I'm just curious. I'm real curious to how he's doing. Obviously, with him being from New Zealand or Australia, but I believe he trains in New Zealand and lives in Australia, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I think it's he lives in Australia, trains in New Zealand, from what I'm sure.
Well, with either of the two, especially New Zealand, from what I've heard, has some very extreme quarantine rules, and we've seen that with Dan Hooker. So I'm real curious when this fight will get rebooked, if Volkanovski's, you know, of course, doing well with his COVID. I wish the best.
I'm with you on that one, man, because I was really looking forward to that fight off of Brian Ortega's last performance, dude. Like, that was, dude. Yeah. He put the work on Korean Zombie. Like, that fight was probably the most complete I feel like we've ever seen Brian Ortega look. And for him to go out there and have a performance like he had, and then to have, you know, this kind of get taken out. Here's the other question. Where do you think, you know, where this fight's getting pushed back and they're still saying it's going to happen, but where do you think Max Holloway ends up in this whole thing?
So Max Holloway's kind of actually been semi-vocal with the fact that he's not, like, necessarily worried about it. He feels as though he's the rightful champ. I personally have made the point multiple times that I agree with him, but that's why I was so excited for this Volkanovski fight, was to see if he was going to, and still or and new. But with Holloway in particular, I don't know. I honestly, this is one of the few occasions where I honestly don't know. I think maybe just hang out with Mini Blessed and enjoy some time in Hawaii and continue to improve on his already amazing skills if I was him. Or possibly maybe go chase greatness and try to get like maybe that Poirier fight back and gain some size, or try to maybe even fight Connor coming off a loss or something.
Oh man, hold on a minute though. For all of you guys that are in the live feed, I see you guys in here. Please let us know what you guys think of these fights. Are you excited for UFC 260? Are you looking forward to it? Who do you got? What do you think's next for Max Holloway? But both of those options you just named are good options, but bro, I don't see Dustin Poirier doing anything that doesn't have the name Conor McGregor on it.
Oh,
and
I wasn't talking about next. Let me preference that. I know I'm a little bit late, but that fight's actually already another one that's being rumored. If I'm not mistaken, it's late or mid July is what the date that I keep hearing. So,
hey man, like I said, I think DC said it best. I think Dustin Poirier is making the right move on this fight. I think him fighting next against Conor McGregor, why wouldn't you? I mean, let's think about it. Everybody wants to say, well, why didn't you go for the title? Well, dude, Conor McGregor is still going to make more money than he would even have made in that title fight. Even if he would have went in there and knocked him out and won the title, I guarantee you, he still makes more money in the fight against Conor McGregor. Secondly, if he caps off a trilogy with Conor McGregor and can have that 2 fights to 1 win over him, bro, I mean, that's a legacy thing for him just off of Conor's name. And then lastly, if he does go in there and knock out Conor McGregor again, how can you say that this dude doesn't get the next shot at the title fight?
Well, he was already in. You could see that. Actually, Dana was asked that during today's press conference with Ngannou and Stipe, why Dustin wasn't included in it. And Dana came out to the fact that Dustin was actually the one pushing for the rematch just as much as Conor. He wants that third match because he knows that's something that, like you said, that solidifies your career. That's something that now you go from being one of these guys that makes, maybe 500 and 500 or something a fight, to now he's in the millions plus paydays, no matter who he's fighting. So for him, it's an amazing business move, especially given the way the second fight went. I really don't see just a couple month turnaround being enough time in the Conor McGregor side to really change too much. I felt like we seen a very good Dustin Poirier in there. I mean, Conor McGregor's notoriously good in the first round. Dustin Poirier is good in the first round, but he's not always a first round killer. And he really did a great job of just weathering kind of Conor's storm, putting on those leg kicks and also landing a lot of offense in like the last minute and a half on him. So to really start to turn the tides in that. So like I say, I just don't see a couple months being enough time to turn it around for him. And what a better shot if you're Dustin to build your career opportunity off of, honestly.
Okay, well, let me ask you this though then. Okay, so it sounds like you're saying you think Poirier is going to win, which I'm in the same boat as you. I think Dustin Poirier really showed what's up. But then again, there's the point that Conor made after the fight that, I mean, I don't know if you agree, or are you saying by your choice that you think that that's a little bit of BS? After that fight, Conor said a lot about how he thought that a lot of it had to do with ring rust. The fact that he hadn't been in the cage, said he felt like the timing and all that. Do you think now that he's had time to train for it and kind of be back to normal training, normal whatever, do you think that does anything? Or do you think the fact that, maybe there's a fire lit under his ass because he went out there and got beat up, you don't think that changes anything?
If anything, I think it's the latter of the 2 points. I think it would be more so the fire under his ass. And then secondly, in my eyes, would be the fact that he would be predominantly training MMA this time instead of training boxing more so like he was the second fight around. I feel like that was a big culprit in why we seen the performance we did from Conor McGregor in that fight. He was too busy training boxing. He had there had been tons of talk leading into that fight, actually, about how he had gone back and started training with his original boxing coach, which was his first ever, MMA or mixed martial arts in general coach, which was his boxing coach in the beginning. So he went really hard. There was already all the tons of rumors and stuff about him coming out and fighting Manny Pacquiao. We obviously see that didn't turn to fruition coming off the loss. I think it very well might have had he won, but that's a whole nother topic of conversation. But
well, here's the thing. So let's say that both of us are correct and Conor loses. What's next for Conor? This is where my opinion going into this fight kind of comes into it. If I were Conor and Conor's management, I would have rather take a fight. I would have rather see him take a fight against Nate Diaz. Not that I'm saying Nate Diaz is an easy fight by any means, but at least
easier.
now you're capping this trilogy off. You lose this fight, you can't go back and do it again. They're not going to run it a fourth time. Especially if it ends the way the last one did, they're not going to end it that way.
No, absolutely. That'll be the end of it. But so if you're Conor McGregor, I honestly think this rematch is the best case scenario, especially if he does somehow come out and get the dub, because it'll give him that built-in excuse of what you kind of already started to give to him. Oh, that first fight back was just ring rust. I wasn't taking this and that serious. And you see, and once I made some small adjustments, I was able to, he'll put the Conor spin on it. He always does. He's notorious at doing it. That's why they call him Notorious. But yeah, if you're Conor McGregor, I really do. I think this is the best case scenario. Unless you're going to fight somebody, even like a Nate Diaz fight or something like that, it sells. It does numbers and stuff. But you signed on to that second Dustin fight expecting to go out there and starch the guy again and rebuild your career at 155. And you were unable to do that against a top contender who arguably even before that fight with you was the rightful guy to fight for the belt again, even if Khabib was the guy still holding the belt. So you didn't do it, and I think you're not going to be able to do it again. But if anything was the best probable chance, it would be him going in there on an immediate rematch and trying to do something maybe that he figured out in this, second go around. But
all right, let's talk about one of the other things that's been in the news. I was listening to Unlocking the Cage with Jimmy Smith the other day, and they were talking about how Colby Covington opened his dumbass mouth again. But this one is just utterly, you're an idiot, dude.
Why? What did you say this one?
Oh, so you didn't hear about it. So apparently Dummy went in an interview and starts running his mouth. They go, well, Colby, what have you been up to? And to which his response was, oh, I've been balls deep in Polyana Viana and blah, 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 blah. And like, well, I don't know, bro. You can ask her. And I'm like, dude, you're a dick. Like,
they did come out and post pictures together on their social medias. Just a
okay, so you say shit like that?
I agree, but
not to mention they're both fighters in the UFC.
So nowadays, the world's so PC, right? You can't get away with saying that kind of stuff 110%. But think about like the type of spin and stuff people like Chael used to say, used to be able to get with saying that kind of shit, Yeah,
Chael didn't say shit like that.
You probably shouldn't say that about a coworker, and we can actually say that about somebody else who's in the main card of this upcoming pay-per-view, and Sean O'Malley. Some of the things that were said on his podcast as well, but it fits into his character so perfectly. They posted a picture. Colby's came out and shit on Brazil so hard, right? Like every Brazilian fighter hates him. And then he comes out with arguably one of the best looking Brazilian women fighters in the organization and has this big picture that goes viral on his social media of her having her hand on his thigh and stuff like that, and being all snuggly, and it just fits so perfectly into his character. Is it very dirty and very low? Absolutely. But it made
Here's
me
the
laugh.
difference, right? Here's
It
my
made
thing
me
with
laugh.
it. Okay, sure, I get that aspect of it, but here's my thing with it, all right?
Right.
So, A, they're both in the UFC. B, maybe I was raised a little different, but if it's a chick that I was like legitimately dating like that, probably wouldn't be saying that all in the media. Because I'm just going to put this out there. If you were to go say something like that about Robin here on the show and somebody we know commented on it, tell me how that would go for you.
I mean, all right, so, but you can only have so many secrets when you have children together, Kyle.
But I'm just, man, I'm not saying secrets, fool. I'm saying shit like that out in the media.
No, I know. There's ways that you word things, and he intentionally worded it in a way to try to.
That was on 100% purpose, and I get. Yeah. And here's the thing: I understand. Look, we're a pro wrestling show. Anybody that watches us knows that we do pro wrestling and combat sports. That's what makes us dope, and that's why you need to hit that subscribe button. But I digress. But here's the thing, though, man. You've got to realize you're in the public eye. Mm-hmm. Take the fact that you're dating a girl completely out of it.
Well, all right. So I don't know if you watched the actual interview that you were referencing, but once you actually brought up the point, yeah, I knew exactly what you were talking about.
I listened to a good portion of it.
It was my boys down there in Australia in Submission Radio, and they do an excellent job. But every single time they have Colby on, it's actually one of their most viewed episodes every time. So he knows what
he knows what he's doing. But I mean, here's the thing, bro. He better go. I mean, here's the thing. This guy's trying to keep himself in the media. In a way, he's stealing a page out of Ric Flair's book. But that being said, you better go out. You better go out there and win, dog. That's all I'm saying. You better go out there and win. Jake, I see you in the comments putting in his picks. My man Jake is out here saying it's gonna be Stipe this weekend. So I'm kind of with you, sir. I think that it's going to be Stipe. I think it's going to be and still kind of deal. I think Francis Ngannou has the ability to be able to knock him out, but I just don't see that happening. I think Stipe is going to show that he is the more well-rounded of the two fighters. We're going to get into that more as we get into the main card of UFC 260. But to wrap up the point on Colby Covington, like I said, I just think it was a dickhead move to say. I mean, maybe it's something to keep you in the media, but I mean, then again, it's Colby Covington we're talking about. So let's see what he has next. Who do you think Colby's going to fight next?
I would love to see him honestly fight Usman, but we see how that fight got booked with Masvidal. So I don't think he's going to play the waiting game, and I would really like to see him fight Burns. Honestly, I feel like him versus Gilbert.
That's a good fight. But aren't they teammates too? Or no, he got kicked out of ATT.
Yeah. So I feel like that would be an incredible fight. I really, honestly do. And
those of you who are joining the feed, we're getting to UFC 260. Please let us know who it is that you got to pick. If you throw out your picks in the comments, we will show them out here on the screen, and we're happy to debate with you. Please show it out. Let us know who you think's going to win.
Gilbert Burns is out of Sanford MMA, not AKA.
So he switched too now.
Yeah, he's been out there because that was a big talking point with them being training partners, as they were both at Sanford with Henry Hooft, and then Kamaru Usman left because the whole thing, and went with Justin Gaethje to Trevor.
He went to Trevor Whitman.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Justin Gaethje, what did you think about what we heard Justin Gaethje come out and say? He said that he was really hurt by the way he got done by the UFC. So,
go ahead. I want to hear your elaboration on it first, because I that is a point that I found very interesting. I feel like he kind of did get done dirty, but
I definitely think he got done dirty. Do I think he should have maybe been in the next fight for the title? Maybe not, because he just lost against Khabib. But I mean, dude, to be completely left out of the picture is kind of a little crazy to me. I mean, here's the thing. This is the problem. This is another problem with them running the Conor versus Poirier fight back that quick, because you're essentially skyrocketing Conor right back into the top 4. And if he wins, you know Conor's going to get the next title shot.
Yeah. Well,
which means he basically.
But
what? You think if he knocks out Poirier, they're not going to have him fight the winner of Oliveira and Chandler?
Okay, so even though coming off a loss against Poirier in his last fight, Poirier, in my eyes, right now is the rightful guy to be fighting for the belt, and
I agree.
Very much so is the clear number 1 in the division, in my eyes.
Right, but if he loses,
so with that, that's my point exactly. If he loses to Conor McGregor is kind of rightfully deserving to be in that title fight because he beat the clear.
Right, but this is another reason I think there should have been a fight in between, though.
Yeah, I see. So if you're Justin Gaethje, Dana White kind of came out and actually alluded to this during the press conference that I talked about earlier with the Stipe and Ngannou. And one of the media members actually brought up the point that Justin Gaethje felt a little bit screwed in it all. And Dana White said he's got a good fight lined up for him. He's got to kind of see how this title fight plays out. But,
well, he better, because, I mean, shit, Gaethje is going to be a cash cow for the UFC for years to come.
Yeah. Honestly, though, I really, truly feel like we kind of missed the fight with Chandler and Gaethje. I feel like that was the rightful fight.
Oh, I agree. That fight. And here's the thing. If there were ever, I mean, now let's not get it twisted. It's not that Michael Chandler couldn't take Gaethje down if he wanted to. But then again, let's not forget that Gaethje's got the wrestling background too. But dude, if there were ever a guy who would go out there and bang with Gaethje like that and could knock Gaethje's fucking block off in the process, dude, Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler would have delivered that all the way. I mean,
I feel like that would have been so perfect with matchmaking, right? Because I feel like everybody who's a hardcore, who even knows a lot about Chandler is still kind of on the fence about like, yeah, he looked really good, but he beat Dan Hooker, who was also coming off a loss, and that was his only fight in the UFC, and now he's already in a title fight against Charles.
See, this is again where I feel like Michael Chandler, we're talking about people getting the raw end of a stick.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I think the fact that Michael Chandler fought for Bellator for so long is giving him the raw end of the stick, because I feel like too many UFC fans that maybe aren't watching as many fights as we do aren't going and looking at his record and saying, oh shit, this guy's actually beaten a lot of the best guys in the world, guys that were in UFC, guys that were UFC champions, all that kind of stuff. That's the thing. I don't feel like, here's the thing, even when he first came in, now I'm not saying they should have skyrocketed him to a title shot, but him being immediately put, they didn't though, because he came in and knocked old boy out in his first fight.
The number 5 contender, though.
Okay, so that immediately puts him in the top 5.
Okay.
And then based off of how the Conor versus Poirier fight went, I would say that.
So, in your opinion, you're now wrapping up one of the top 5 guys in Poirier because you're saying Conor shouldn't rightfully be in the top 5.
No, but I'm saying I'm just talking about if we're talking about a ranking situation. Conor lost.
Yeah.
Conor lost to Poirier. Like that. Again, that's why I say he should have had another fight to come in there. Chandler came in, knocked dude out, and did it nasty.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen somebody get a nasty win like that and then they get a step up?
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with them putting him in there. But again, Conor losing, to me, I would have liked to seen him get another one in between there, because then let's just say we take Conor out. Obviously, we already know we got the Poirier fight, but let's take Conor out. So that leaves you what? Chandler, Oliveira, Poirier, and right. So you've got your 4 there. At least there, all of them are either coming off of wins or you got a guy like Gaethje who, again, okay, have at worst, here's an idea. Since they both lost, have Gaethje and Conor fight.
See, all right, I wouldn't have argued with that one bit. My personal, all right, so I don't know what happened with the Gaethje Chandler thing, why that ended up dissolving. And honestly, from what I've heard from the Gaethje side, I don't think they necessarily know either. Because he's kind of came out and said that he went to go train. He woke up in the morning to go train for the Gaethje fight that he thought he was about to sign on, or the Chandler fight, and then it was just gone. So that being said, I feel like, call me crazy, but I would have loved to see. I believe Rafael dos Anjos moved into number 5. And I really feel like maybe a Chandler versus Dos Anjos fight would have been really fun to see who's next.
But what? Okay, but what is RDA coming off of though?
Who did he beat in his last fight? It was a main event, and he looked the Paul Felder fight when Paul Felder jumped in on short notice.
Okay, I mean Paul Felder's a good win, but I don't know.
RDA's on like a 3 or 4 fight winning streak as well. He climbed his way rightfully back into the 55 top contenders, or even I just feel like one fight and then title fight is too fast, even with the body of work that Chandler brings into the organization. And I have been a fan of his for a while. I have been watching his fights for years, but I still feel like the UFC is kind of, I honestly feel it's the complete opposite of what you said. How everybody's kind of shitting on Chandler, and that like Bellator, maybe the fact that he fought there for so long.
I'm saying fans don't know his resume very well.
Well, what I'm saying is the UFC would have never, ever gave somebody.
The UFC knows, though. I'm talking about what the perception of the public is. I'm not saying what the perception of the UFC is. I'm saying, how many fans do we see, or people? Okay, think about our friends right now. How many of our friends, if we didn't tell them, hey, Chandler is a badass when he came in and fought. Yeah. Let's say we're sitting watching it with Jesse and Tone and all them. How many of those guys know Chandler outside of maybe Gino?
Exactly.
That's my point. The fans don't watch Bellator like that. It's a proven fact, which is why I'm hoping the Showtime thing helps.
Yeah, I really hope so for Bellator's sake. Especially, I'm becoming friends with a lot of the athletes in the promotion, and I really do. I feel like they need that eye. It would really help MMA as a whole to have a solid number 2, and not just kind of like a number 2 that everybody realizes is a far-fetched, different.
What up, Fabio? Commenting on the YouTube. What up? Who do you got for UFC 260? Are you rolling with Stipe or are you rolling with Ngannou? I need to know, who in the fuck do you got for UFC 260? But we're here to talk about UFC 260. We got off in the weeds on the news. Cory, I've got the card pulled up here.
One last fight announcement I really want to get your thoughts on before we jump into it. Ooh, you eye rolling?
Man, we already 25 minutes in and you talking about fights.
Well, I feel like this is one that would really get your attention because of the fact that she's been gone for so long and made a very surprise announcement and a new fight announcement. Miocic Tate is coming back.
I was thinking about bringing that up, which I am looking forward to that because I really kind of wondered if she was going to go to I really kind of wondered where she was going to go because I really didn't think she'd come back to the UFC, dude.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I really
still under contract, and from what I
heard, but I mean the way it was looking like she wasn't going to fight again.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she might go over to PFL, bro.
Really? I mean, it wouldn't have been the worst idea. She could have definitely did very well against everybody except possibly Kayla Harrison, but that would have been a very interesting matchup either way. But it's very interesting with such a long layoff. We know she's coming back from having a kid, but it wasn't even necessarily just having a kid at this point because it's been 4 or 5 years.
See, but here's the thing with Miocic Tate. I think she might run into a little bit of what Conor did, but at the same time, again, I listen to Unlocking the Cage with Jimmy Smith, and I also hear her a lot on MMA Tonight. she's never stopped training, bro, whether it was in Singapore or any of that. And you got to remember, ultimately, outside of Ronda Rousey, she's kind of really considered one of the big ones who helped put it on the map once they got over to Showtime the first time with Elite XC and all that as well. So, I mean, let's not sleep on it. Jose Gomez says he's rolling with Stipe this weekend. I mean, I feel like I'm surprised because the way the UFC is hyping this one, man, I feel like we've had so much hype on Francis Ngannou that I feel like people were making it seem like it was a foregone conclusion and not giving Stipe the hype they have it. But it looks like our listeners are all saying the same thing like we are, because I don't know about you, but I'm pretty dead set that I got Stipe in this one. So without any further ado, since all of y'all are dropping in on the comments, let's get to this UFC 260 main card real quick. All right. First fight on the card, you got Kama Worthy versus Jamie Malarkey. Hey, man, that's a word my grandpa used to use all the time. Malarkey, that's Malarkey. Let's see, is Malarkey going to get the dub on this one, Corey, or are you going with Kama Worthy? Because for me, I think Kama is going to show that he is worthy.
Yeah, absolutely. James Malarkey coming off a loss in his last fight. I'm actually, to be honest with you, with the fight cancellation we've been kind of talking about the whole episode to this point, they had to move somebody up to fill in that fifth slot on the pay-per-view. Kamaru Worthy is a very worthy fighter for that spot. That being said, this matchup surprises me being in the spot it is. I know it's just kind of the pay-per-view opener, and if any fight on a pay-per-view is usually missed, it is that one because people are trying to figure out how to buy it still and stuff at that point.
Or ESPN Plus just doesn't work, but
yeah, one or the other.
I'm just saying, hey, I'm just saying, I'm just saying,
but either way, I'm very surprised. I feel like the Shane Young fight versus who was it? The Shane fight versus Morales, I believe. I feel like that would have been a much better fight to see opening.
Shane Young versus Omar Morales. You got. So I was thinking about that Shane Young fight being the one to move up there, but I feel like Kama Worthy a little bit is somebody that they've been, kind of hyping a little bit.
He has a name too that's easily recognizable. That's one thing that a lot of these guys kind of unfortunately aren't luckily born with, is a name that's easily recognizable, and that's one thing he definitely has. And his style is incredibly interesting when he goes in there and performs. So, like I said, I feel like he is worthy of the position. I just feel like the matchup against Malarkey maybe not as much, honestly. But that being said, I'm definitely leaning towards Kamaru Worthy as well.
Hey, man, we appreciate the comments in here. Keep them coming. Whoever it is that you guys got on this card, follow along on the UFC card real quick and let us know who the fuck you think is going to win at UFC 260. All right, the second fight on the card, you got Jillian Robertson versus Miranda Maverick. Miranda Maverick should win just because she's got a badass name. I'm just saying. Miranda Maverick. She would fit in real good on the pro wrestling end of this fucking show. I'm just saying.
She is a badass. I don't know if the bloodlines or something are just deep with that Maverick family or something, but yeah, that name is well deserving for a girl like that. If I'm not mistaken, she's only like 22 or something. She's incredibly young in her career, but she's already got a wealth of experience, and she's fighting somebody who's also semi-young in their career in Jillian Robertson. But Jillian Robertson kind of has up and down streaks and hasn't actually accumulated as many wins as Miranda Maverick already has in her young career.
Do you think Miss Maverick is related to Maverick from Top Gun?
I mean,
or do you think she's going to be soaring like Maverick from Top Gun this Saturday at UFC 260?
I'm a huge fan of Jillian Robertson, right? I really like when she's able to put it on girls and get the takedowns, secure positions, get submission attempts and secure them and get the victory, because that's her path to victory almost every single time when she does pull them off. But that being said, I feel like Miranda Maverick's, she's got that thing. She's got that that
She's got that it factor like that we like
Well,
to talk about in professional wrestling. She's got that it factor.
Not even just the it factor, right? Because the it factor, I feel like, more describes somebody on the microphone. I feel like she has the it factor in the sense of not a lot of girls come in there in the MMA sphere with the same type of aggression that we see some of these
But
guys.
that's that it factor, and here's why. Yeah. That doesn't just translate to just the microphone, because when we're talking about fighting, dude, that it factor is being able to go in that cage, and when those lights turn on, you're able to flip that switch.
Yeah.
Not everybody is able to flip that switch. Not everybody is able to perform when the lights are on. That's why that is that it factor, because she's able to show up on the biggest platform there is. For this one, you know what, damn it? Just based on the name alone, I'm going with the motherfucking Maverick. It's going to be Miranda Maverick for me on this one. The next fight on the card. So I almost took this bet. I did bet on him, but on FanDuel, for any of you guys who are betting, they have a boost on right now by Sean O'Malley to win by knockout or TKO over Thomas Almeida. Now, I did pick Sean O'Malley in my 3-fight parlay because I do feel like Sean O'Malley is going to come back and, redeem himself a little bit off that last fight. But I wasn't that sure that it would be by knockout. So for me, since I just told you who I'm betting on, I got the Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley on this one. Cory, who do you got in this fight?
So I agree with you. I think Sean O'Malley is going to be able to pull it off. I really am curious to see how he comes back coming from his first loss. But I feel like not enough is being said about his opponent in this one. Thomas Almeida, even though he's on a pretty significant slump at this point, I believe his last win was like 3 years ago.
Damn. And that's who they're giving to O'Malley now. Do you think they're just trying to help O'Malley out here?
He's on a 3-fight winning streak, so he just hasn't been very active. It's not that he's
okay. So he is on a 3-fight winning streak.
Yeah, it's not that he's been like super losing every fight back to back to back to back. It's that he just hasn't been very active. But Thomas Almeida, before this recent losing streak, man, he was a guy that actually made his way into main events and co-main events.
I remember.
So he was a very serious prospect to watch out for. Then he got knocked out by Cody Garbrandt. But he came back in his following fight after that and won. And then since then, all of his losses have only been to Rob Font, one of them. Jimmy Rivera, another one. His most recent one, if I'm not mistaken, was a little bit less impressive, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. But either way, all of his recent losses were to killers in the 135 division, guys that were really climbing or top guys at their given time. And I don't know. It's a real good test for Sean O'Malley, especially because I feel like Thomas Almeida is somebody who gets slept on a lot, but has some very serious skills. And I just wonder if Thomas Almeida is going to let the hype get to him, if he's going to be nervous, if the fact that he isn't quite as active as maybe he would like to be, or whatever the case be with that. I still do very much lean towards the Sean O'Malley side in this one. I feel like he's just a next level striking. But that being said, Thomas Almeida's a live dog.
He's not no hope for sure. I mean, it's a good fight, but I like I say, I just something about O'Malley in this one. That's kind of why I got to go with O'Malley. Now, this next fight is where things get interesting for your boy. Because, like I said, I got a 3-fight parlay out here. I got Stipe over Ngannou. I got Sean O'Malley over Almeida. And then I got Vicente Luque to win over Tyron Woodley.
What's your way? Is it just outright, or
here's what I'm hoping is going to happen, because the fine folks over there at FanDuel got a boost right now on this fight. Mm-hmm. So I had to put a little bit of extra skin in the game, because if I win, Mr. Luque is going to be taking me to the motherfucking bank, because there's a boost on right now that if you pick Vicente Luque to win by knockout or TKO over Tyron Woodley, it's plus 330 odds. So I bet $25. If I win, I get $82.50.
That's pretty good.
All right, we got my man Jose Gomez coming back in again. My picks. He's got Worthy. He's going against us. He's got Robertson. He agrees with us on O'Malley, but he said he's a little bit worried about his past injury. And on this fight, he's agreeing with your boy. I couldn't pass up on that one, especially with the way Woodley's been going right now. Look, man, those odds to get that knockout. Look here. If I win this parlay, I put $20 on a 3-fight parlay. If I win, I get $50.97. If I win the second one, I put $25 on it, and I get $82.50. So your boy's looking at coming out this bitch with about $150 if Mr. Luque does
all
his deal.
3 fights hit. That's the thing about.
No, I get $82.50 just if he knocks him out.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
I get $82.50 just if he knocks him out, but I need all 3 of them to win the other 50.
Okay. Well, my thoughts on the Vicente Luque. Why am I drawing?
Tyron Woodley, come on, guy. Today, Junior.
Too much bud in the brain. So I feel like this is a real test for Woodley. I honestly do, and I feel like this is something we've kind of said in his last couple fights, but even more so in this one because of the fact Vicente Luque is a killer. He's somebody who absolutely you need to watch out for in the 170 division. But that being said, I also don't feel like he's the same level talent that Tyron Woodley has been losing to in his last couple fights. I feel like
I can agree with that.
His fight against Colby, it's hard to take something away because I alluded to it in the beginning of the show. I feel like Colby is actually the rightful number 1 contender. I feel like his loss against Gilbert Burns has been on a tear. He almost knocked out Kamaru Usman in the first round. And I feel like would have done a lot better had the lights not got to him quite as much in that title bout. But everybody he's losing to in his last couple fights are either the champ or somebody who immediately fought for.
But he's still losing, and he didn't look good in those fights, though.
Not a single round.
And he did not look like Tyron Woodley, and that's why this fight is scary to me for Tyron Woodley. Because if there's one thing I know about Vicente Luque, you let that motherfucker hit you, you might be going to sleep. I'm just saying,
man. I'm a huge Vicente Luque fan. I with what I said earlier about him being a slight step down, I feel like that's just because he might be a little bit younger and still developing some of his skills. But his striking game is incredible.
Here, but think about this on the other hand. In the same way you just said that with the caliber of opponent that Woodley's fought, think of it this way. Vicente Luque goes in there and let's say he knocks out Woodley, which I'm hoping he does. But if he goes in there and knocks out Woodley, you got to start talking about him as contender talk. What do you say?
But who did Vicente Luque fight last? Was his last fight still when he got outclassed a little bit against Wonderboy Thompson? Because if that's the case...
No, he's coming off a knockout, I believe.
Okay.
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay. Appreciate it. But that's what worries me is the fact that I feel like when we've seen Vicente Luque take that next step into the top 5 tier guys, it doesn't always work out in his favor. He still puts on incredible performances against these guys, but I feel like that's kind of been his downfall a little bit when he steps up in competition. I feel like he's done incredibly well against top 15, top 10, top 5 he struggled. And I don't know what the difference is. I don't know if it's just a little bit of the lights or a higher skill level or a combination of the both. But that's what I've seen. But Tyron Woodley, depending on which Tyron shows up, man, I feel like everybody's been saying this ever since he lost his belt. I mean, what Tyron's going to show up? I was actually a big fan of Tyron Woodley. I was one of the people saying that I would have loved to see a Tyron Woodley versus GSP fight back in the day when that was actually partially being rumored and stuff. And to see him just fall so quickly from grace, man, from being a potential GOAT in his division just behind GSP to all of a sudden the UFC's probably
No, man, you're sadly mistaken, sir. Vincente Luque is coming off a win over Randy Brown where he whooped his ass and won by knees and punches in round 2. And then before that, he won against Nico Price because of the eye injury thing.
Okay, yep. And then
because I remember that Randy Brown fight. And that Randy Brown fight, man, he looked pretty good from what I remember against Randy Brown.
He went out there and just put it on Randy
He
Brown.
put the work on that, man. He comes out and puts the work like that on Mr. Tyron Woodley. I think I'm laughing my way to the motherfucking bank. But now we got to talk about what is the main event. What is the reason why all of you people are here and watching and all that good stuff. And any of you guys that come in, feel free to let us know. Are you going with Stipe or are you going with Francis Ngannou? I, for one, got to meet the man, and let me tell you, Francis Ngannou's fucking fist. Now, let me tell you, people, you see that? I've dropped people with that fist. But that guy's fist is bigger than my head, and I got a pretty big dome. So I'm just saying, I don't want that guy hitting me. So I don't envy Stipe Miocic in this one. But I think in this one, as I've been saying, as we've been going through the show, I think it's going to be Stipe Miocic in this one. I feel like he's too all-around good for Mr. Ngannou. I mean, obviously, he's got to watch out for that big shot. But if we know Stipe is not only a good fighter, dude, he's got that mind for it. So for me, that's why I got to go with Stipe, and he is the third fighter that I got on my parlay. So if you're trying to follow along with your boys' picks, that's what we're going with this weekend at UFC 260. Cory, you've said that you agree with me. What are you thinking on this one?
So I actually, to be honest with you, I feel like we're going to see a more dominant performance than we did in the first fight. I feel like Stipe is going to be even less there to be touched because of the roughly 10 to 12, maybe 15 pounds at most that he's lost since that time. He was weighing in roughly around 245, 250 in between his fights, and now he's weighing in at 230, 235.
Plus, I feel like he feels disrespected too.
He does, but all right. So let me finish with the weight difference. I feel like he's going to be even less there to be hit because of the fact he's going to be a lot lighter on his feet. He's a lot quicker since then.
But do you think he's really going to try to stand with Ngannou until he gets him tired, though? I don't. No. I think he's going to try to take him down and beat him up, and then we might see him throw hands once Ngannou gets tired and he's not keeping his hands up anymore. But I think if Stipe is smart, dude, he don't need to be throwing hands with Ngannou in the beginning of this fight, because if he does, he's in trouble.
But if you look back to his first fight, he did throw hands with him until he felt comfortable to try to get in and actually get hands on him. He did. He took a couple of the shots, and that's one thing I'm actually glad for Stipe, is that he's coming off a little bit of a layoff. So if any time, now would be the time to be able to absorb a shot on your chin. And with Ngannou, that's kind of what you essentially have to worry about. As long as you can survive a couple of those Hail Mary shots, that he's going to, more often than not, at least land a couple throughout the fight, especially in a 25-minute fight like this. As long as he can survive a couple of those, get his hands on him, like you said, wear him down and stuff like that, I definitely see it still being come Saturday night. But there's definitely a reason why they fight, and Ngannou is as impressive physically as a heavyweight as I believe we've ever seen. Once he continues to improve on his skills, he very well might end up being unbeatable. But at this given point, I feel like Stipe's still got levels ahead of him in multiple tiers of the MMA game.
I agree, but let's also not forget, and this is something I didn't even realize till I was watching a little bit of the press conference earlier. Ngannou is maybe younger for the MMA game, but Ngannou is not no spring chicken. He's 34. I mean, that's not old, but it's especially also not a
heavyweights, especially not in heavyweights. That's like the one division where you could, I feel like the average. I wonder what it is. I'm not going to Google it because we're short on time at this point, but I believe the average number for UFC heavyweights is like 36 years old, or maybe.
I agree, and that's the thing. I think right now he's got a chance to win, but like here's the thing. I think if you're talking about who's got longevity, I mean, here's the thing: if Stipe wins this fight, who's really left for him other than fight John Jones?
That's exactly what it'll be.
If he wins this fight, mark my words right here and now, he'll fight John Jones next, and if he beats John Jones, he might retire.
All right, so you watched the press conference, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so did you see the press? One of the press members that asked if Stipe loses, does he get an immediate rematch like he did with the DC fight? And Dana said that's a very good point, and we'll have to weigh it if that point does come.
See, this is another example of how they be hoeing Stipe.
Well, my point is, they've kind of already came out and said the winner gets John Jones, but do you feel like if Stipe does lose, especially seeing the fact that he already won the first match,
Stipe fights the winner of John Jones,
you feel like John Jones would step in and fight Ngannou first, and then
if Ngannou wins, yes.
Okay.
If Ngannou wins, yes. And then Stipe should get a rematch.
Yeah.
Because they need to put some respect on his fucking name.
But then what happens if John Jones beats Ngannou and then we're just in the shithole? I feel like
then fine. Okay, if Ngannou wins, why can't you have Ngannou and Stipe fight again?
That's what I feel like would be the
let Stipe get his get back if that's what's going to happen. If that's what happens, which again, I think Stipe's keeping the belt. So this is all in hypothetical.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I mean, like I said, I think Stipe is going to keep this belt. It sounds like you think Stipe is going to keep this belt. But before we get out of here, that's not the only thing that's going down on Saturday. Our man's Myron Malotki of XFC and Austin Bashi will be going to war in your co-main event on Fox Sports, Fox Deportes, Fight TV. XFC is coming at you, and if you didn't check it out already, make sure you check out that link and check out these interviews. Like I said, we got to talk to the big boss of XFC, Mr. Myron Malotki, about this weekend's card, and we got to talk with one of my homies and somebody I've been watching since he was a real young buck. Still a young buck, but 20-year-old sensation phenom Austin Bashi is going to be stepping back into the cage this weekend. XFC, I feel like Austin Bashi is going to catch another body. But Cory, what were your thoughts since that was the first fight you got to see of Austin?
Mm-hmm.
What do our fans who are watching this have to look forward to if they haven't seen Austin Bashi in the cage?
Well, for being as young as he is, you could tell that he was definitely experienced in multiple
disciplines.
Disciplines of MMA. Thank you very much. He's definitely
disciplines of mixed martial arts, homie. It ain't just MMA.
Well, I use MMA as the true definition of MMA. I mixed martial arts, not just like what we see in a cage on Saturday type deal. When I say MMA, especially
I get you.
That's what I mean. But that being said, you could tell he was very, very versed because he realized that, hey, I'm not only better at standing up with this dude and was doing better in the stand-up, but why even give him a shot because I'm also better at grappling tenfold. So he went in there and completely controlled him from top to bottom. Once he realized that was such a unfought back, like the dude had no rebuttal to what he was doing. It was incredibly impressive, man. He laid it on him in all the facets, and I just can't wait to see what we see coming off of a little bit of unforced layoff with Corona, of course.
Let me tell you, that kid has not been having no layoffs. I've known Austin for a very long time. Austin is well-versed, like Cory said. He's got a wrestling background, Muay Thai kickboxing background under a guy I've gotten to train under six-time world champion in Lumpini over there in Thailand, Mr. Meiti. Don't even try to say his last name because I've never said it right in all the years I've known him. But he goes by Dragon Leg. Let me tell you, this man is 135 pounds, and I don't want him kicking me. I don't. I've watched people get in the ring and try to kick him hard and watched him laugh and say, okay, we're going to kick hard. Fuck you. I don't want him kicking me hard. And that man has been, training this dude since he was a young buck. Not to mention he's got the high school wrestling background and he's already had fights in kickboxing, obviously MMA. He's won jiu-jitsu tournaments and everything in between. So as Cory mentioned, he's very well-rounded. You're going to see a great card from XFC, and stay tuned because also fellow past guest of the show, former Dana White Contender Series alum Mr. Kenny the Boss Cross will make his return to the XFC, and other past guests of the show, Mr. UFC vet Bobby Nasty Nash will be competing in the second round of the 170-pound tournament, and just announced a couple days ago, and that will be returning back to you real soon. Mondo El Toro Gutierrez will be stepping back into the cage for LFA April 24th. So that's why you need to stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that follow button, hit all the buttons, and make sure you're checking us out here at Knockouts and 3 Counts, because until next time, and in the in-between time, enjoy the fights. Hopefully you win some money. Peace.